second day namin. Pumunta kami sa Watson. Sabi ni Marky, boss, kailangan ko pumunta doon sa Watsons na yan. Kailangan ko ng sabon. Papasok na kami sa Watsons, tapos sabi niya, may belo ba dito? Belo lang pwede sa skin ko eh.
Hi guys, so day 5 ngayon at kakatapos lang ng group stage kahapon. Rest day namin ngayon, pahinga-pahinga muna. Tapos mamaya may photoshoot para sa semifinals ng GPL and konting review against the Gigabyte Marines. Ayun lang.
Cheese. Cheese. Ham. Meatloaf. Meatloaf ba ka? Bacon. Bacon strip. Yan o. Yay! Kita mo na sa camera. Sama dito. Sama.
Kala ko rest day, may shoot pa pala. Una na ka sa hotel? Joke lang. Vienna!
Money! Let's go, money!
Pag blue side sila, madalas mag-super leash yun, tapos babalikan niya yung walang flash na game.
Hindi kayo niya. Hindi talaga pa.
So tingin ko okay lang, try niya muna.
I-invade niya yung Raptors niya pag blue side sila.
Kenin Jarvan pala siya. Pinaka-most pick niya, bro. 10 times.
Pero sobrang OP pa naman dito, ng choker.
Welcome back, Southeast Asia, to the Garena Premier League Summer 2017 knockout stage. We have just returned from the first game and the first match for today, which is Gigabyte Marines from Vietnam versus the Philippines. Team Manila Eagles will be getting into Game 2, and of course, we'll be your shoutcasters for that game. I'm Atlas. With me is Arctic. So let's get right to it, because that was definitely a troubling game for Team Manila Eagles.
Troubling is kind of putting it mildly right there. I'd
That's
say
true.
It's definitely quite the horror story that unraveled for the Team Manila Eagles. But nonetheless, we'll just have to see again. It's all about the adaptation here, whether or not they still have that bravado, and of course, the necessary changes that they might need to make to their game plan in order to conquer Game 2. But anyways, going into the bans right here, Elise, Galio, and Rek'Sai going to be banned out from the Gigabyte Marines, while Callista, Sion, and Rakan will be taken away from Team Manila Eagles respectively.
Yeah, this is quite a different banning phase from the group stage bans, because usually the tanks would be the one taken away from both teams, and TME would usually ban out 3 tanks. Galio was one of them, and they would take 2 other tanks that are very strong, like the Zac here, which they are prioritizing, and I believe one of the other bans was Cho'Gath. As for Gigabyte Marines, they'll be picking up the Jarvan, which will likely go to Levy. I have not seen Jarvan on Nevan right just yet, but it might actually be his pickup depending on how they want to play against Coops. But the thing here is, yeah, not having the 2 bans for tanks means that they are placing a lot of priority in stopping Levy's rampage.
Interesting though, looks like the Tristana going to be locked in as well for the Gigabyte Marines, which is a champion that, if I'm not mistaken, is one of those picks that Noe is very, very proficient at. So I'm really looking forward to how that'll play out. And wow, actually the Kog'Maw going to be locked in exchange for Marky.
The Kog'Maw. I'm quite doubtful about the Kog'Maw picking it up here, especially so early in the picking phase. I'm not sure how this is going to fare out, because this is definitely going to bot lane. And Marky, usually he likes going aggressive in the bot lane, but here the Kog'Maw, it would be too dangerous to actually all in. Even with the Braum picked up against a Tristana, especially coming to late game, there will be the threat of Levy's Jarvan IV, just trapping him in there with no way to escape if he doesn't have the flash, which is quite a big resource.
Overall, looking at the draft coming in from TME with that Braum as well, I wouldn't be surprised actually if they're going to be going for a protect-oriented composition wherein
that is a possibility.
They want to try to avoid as many elements getting into that Kog'Maw as much as possible, allowing Marky to deal that full onslaught of damage, but we'll just have to see the Janna as well going to be locked in for the Gigabyte Marines.
Yeah, the Janna this time will be picked up by Gigabyte Marines, which means for sure Noe will have quite a safe laning phase with all of that disengage that the Janna has. Let's see what their second banning phase will be here. It seems like the Jace will be banned away against JLC. So right now, Gigabyte Marines is banning out against the carry JLC that we saw in the finals of Rampage here in the Philippines. They do not want to risk suddenly JLC going into a Shin Akuma form and going full demon. But it seems like TME does not want Trevor to be pressured too hard by the Kassadin. And while traditionally Kassadin has a weak laning phase, Trevor's champions can have a little bit of trouble against that one.
Especially when you have Kupsino, who might encounter yet another struggle if ever Levy goes for the same strategy when he kind of brings the level of drought to Kups. So, you know, this definitely grants him a little bit more flexibility, so to say.
Cassiopeia banned out against Trevor here, while Nar against Nevin. And the thing here is that I really like the Cassiopeia ban, because you want Cassiopeia to be picked up alongside a hyper carry, which is either Tristana or Kog'Maw. Usually it's Tristana, but since Gigabyte Marines was the one to pick up the Tristana, they're going for the Kog'Maw for this one. And Gigabyte Marines reads it. Okay, they might have too much damage in the late game if we let them have Cassiopeia. So we ban that out. So we'll see how TME responds to this. Gigabyte Marines picks up Lucian for Optimus.
That's going to be beautiful.
That's a hypey pick there, right there. So we'll see what TME has for the last two picks. Another tank, the Maokai, will be the pickup for this one. We'll see what the final pickup will be, which will be Trevor's pick, the Syndra.
Interesting. Again, it's all coming into full circle right now with that Maokai going to be locked in. Again, more protection. And then, of course, given that you already have a Braum and Izak, you know, you want to complement that with as much damage output as you can for that mid lane. So the Syndra, definitely a very potent pick. Looking at the Gigabyte Marines, so I gotta say I'm loving this draft thus far.
So far, yes, me too. We'll see what actually tops off the rest of their picks here. But for now, let's look at TME's picks, which is a lot of CC and tankiness, and one burst damage mage, and one hyper carry. That is really troubling for me personally, because I do not want having only one source of damage in the late game. Because late game Syndra will not be one-shotting anybody.
No, not
especially if the trend continues where Trevor has a lot of trouble in the mid lane in the laning phase.
This is going to be interesting though. Looks like the Jarvan IV actually going to be flexed up to the top lane as you're go for this broad.
Seems like Nevin will be the top lane pick, picking up the Jarvan. As for Levy, still lots of pressure in the jungle. That's going to be the Gragas body slam flash. So much potential. So they have to be careful. But the thing is, both of these carries for TME, the priority targets for your ganks, have no escapes whatsoever.
At the end of the day, I'm interested in seeing how Cooks will be performing on this Zac. Definitely a lot more power within the earlier phases should he go for more ganks. But then again, it all comes down to whether or not that actually translate into success. Because like we have seen, he did go for those attempts, but it went ultimately a lot of fails that went south way too fast.
Because what we always discuss, even with the powerful players of TME, Marky, JLC, and Trevor, the centerpiece, the glue of all of it, I think, is Koops. We agreed on that. If Koops doesn't perform, the rest of the team just kind of falls apart in the laning phase while their enemies just pick them out. pick them off one by one. As for Gigabyte Marines, a lot of them seem very, very stealth-sufficient. If Levy does not perform up to par, Optimus can still do very well in lane. Nevin so far has given us quite a surprise, while Noe is performing very, very well with his support Archie in the bot lane. So that's a big disparity in how things go usually when the jungler doesn't perform too well.
Yeah, and if we're going to talk about what transpired during that game 1, ultimately I'd say looking at the Team Manila Eagles roster, as far as who performed fairly, I like the restraint in a way as far as who should be doing their job, both Marky and Rox. You know, they just kind of went head to head with both Noe and Archie in that bot lane. They're just kind of getting their farm on, not really affecting. It's just that the problem was, since a lot of action happened towards the top and mid side, which Gigabyte Marines just kind of popped off on, then ultimately it didn't really matter whether or not Marky and Rox was doing their job towards bot, because the rest of the team just ultimately caused problems for them.
Because Marky and Rox were losing in that bot lane matchup. They were being bullied into the turret. But it wasn't bad in the sense that they just keep giving more kills to the opposing laners and the jungler. What happened was they kept trying to go for these engages that left them in the back foot. But of course, we'll be seeing if that changes in this game 2. This time, blue side, Team Manila Eagles from the Philippines versus Vietnam's Gigabyte Marines.
Yes, let's go ahead and check out the action right here. Looking at the sides, though, looks like
just regular lines of scrimmage just right now. They don't want to risk anything too much, even though it's a best of 5. TME already has 1 loss. Well, Gigabyte Marines does not want to lose any momentum that they've gained from the previous game. We'll see how they actually play out their level 1s here. Seems like so far, Levy starting around bot side, so is Koops. So they do want the top lane here to be a little bit stable for both ends, maybe even the mid lane as well, depending on their pathing.
it's actually an interesting transition right there, especially since Team Manila Eagles, they did spot Levy towards the top side. So a little bit of a quick switcheroo starting off towards bot side could potentially throw Team Manila Eagles off, but we will have to see if that is going to be the case. But nonetheless, looking at the itemization here, it's definitely a different story unfolding in comparison to earlier, where we did see Thorn Shields across the board for all lanes. In this case, though, looks like we are going to be seeing much more diversity for the Manila Eagles. Thorn Shield still for the top side, but then again, of course, very much sensible. Trevor going to be opting for the Thorn's Rig, as well as Marky going to be opting for the Thorn's Blade here.
Yeah, Thorn's Blade is an understandable pickup. You want a little bit more sustain in the sense while you're auto-attacking, while giving you combat stats. Because if No Way Archie face up against Marky and Rox, then definitely Marky will appreciate the damage gain from the blade, from the Thorn's Blade.
Definitely.
So far, however, laning phase still quite slow. We'll see how Levy and Crook, it seems like they will finish their respective topside jungle around the same time as Rox. Marky try to look for a fight against No Way.
Have to back away though, taking a lot of damage in exchange. But again, not only towards bot side, but just a quick note towards top side as well. If you're gonna look at things, JLC took a substantial amount of damage going up against Nevin, forced to just kind of restrain himself towards his tower for the meantime. Kind of understandable being here, because Nevin, in contrast to JLC going for Doran Shield, actually went for the Corrupting Potion first off in this matchup here. So
they know that Levy is trying to take these Raptors, but they can't really do anything about it, while Koops cannot actually get that revenge by stealing his own camp, which means that this is free for Levy. As for Koops, he's forced to take the Krugs here to try and make something up for that Raptors loss, but this puts him at such a disadvantage in terms of pathing, because this will allow him to go for the bot lane or mid lane while Koops is stuck there in the top lane, still taking so long to take those Krugs, while Levy has already taken away 2 camps from him.
Indeed, and this is what we're talking about once again, the drought that Koops might have to go through once again. Remember, this is a continuing trend wherein Levy just continues to deny farm from Koops, but looks like Koops actually lingering towards top side here. But then again, there is vision for Nevin, so I'm not sure if this will actually translate to an actual gang. JLC trying to pursue the chase, but not quite happening, with Nevin within full awareness of the whereabouts of Koops right now.
And I love how Koops played all of that. He took his Raptors, and then visibly, he went to the Raptors. I think that was very well planned. Not only does he pressure Trevor into the turret, he also shows TME intentionally that, oh, hey, I'm going for your Raptors, and my Krugs are probably open. And there, Coops tries to go for the Raptors, does not find them, has to go for the Krugs, which leaves Levy free to linger around this bot side. What this gives GAM is that pressure in the mid lane. That means Trevor knows that since Levy's around the corner in the bot side, he cannot go aggressive against Optimus. Marky as well cannot fight against No Way. Well, this gives Levy a lot of room in this jungle to put down some vision as well as to get that gold lead. And of course now the vision is quite worn off, but it's very good to have that information around that side of the jungle.
Yeah, still a good way to kind of set the ground here for the Gigabyte Marines, because overall it definitely translates, even though it's not really as substantial. Like, there's a 600 gold difference, but if this is a continuing trend for the Gigabyte Marines, then that gold difference will slowly start building up in favor of them, unless Team LA Eagles actually does something proactive to kind of balance that out.
Definitely. And here, TME really does want to get a head start in scaling against Gigabyte Marines. Gigabyte Marines have 280 carries with the Demotion standard from Nevin backing them up in terms of pushing. They have the Janna as well, Gragas for good disengage and peel. As for TME, they have lots of tanks, lots of tankiness. Biggest problem, they don't have enough damage in the late game. We'll see how this happens.
Rock's actually continuing, but no, they will be back in the meantime. But no, Coops actually going to get spotted out here, taking quite the damage there from Optimus, confidently just getting a few pokes on right there.
Yeah, and Levy's still taking away resources from Coops. Coops starving right now. Well, because Coops is half health and lost that cap, this leaves Levy at level 6, able to gank his bot lane.
Indeed, Marky though might be in a bit of trouble there. Smoke that actually connects. First blood going to Levy. Rock's forced to just back away and leave his carry to die for the meantime. But here we go, the Optimus might be in trouble himself. Actually, Trevor flashing, but wasn't even necessary actually.
He really wanted to confirm that kill, especially against Optimus, but now he has a small lead over the Vietnamese mid laner, so now might actually be an opportunity for him to start stepping up. And still, that bot lane play, dive by Levy, no way, that was all Levy. That was because Levy was able to pressure Coops out of his own jungle and repeat the cycle where he steals resources from Coops, which leaves him with a priority in the bot side, and this gives first blood to Levy. However, that kill does go on to the tank, while Optimus could have used his help in the mid lane. A kill on Syndra is much more valuable than just a kill on a Gragas.
Indeed, but at the end of the day, comparing both junglers here, in terms of CS, 25 to 50, not to mention the fact that Levy, again, just bringing the drought to Coops. So Coops in exchange, you start wondering, like, in effect, especially since he's on the Zac, you're kind of expecting him to kind of get the ganks on, potentially, within the first 10 minutes. But again, you can't really blame him for not being able to do so, because, again, he's just continuing getting dried out here.
Yeah, and Gigabyte Marines knows exactly where Coops is right now. Because Levy was the one to take out the Raptor camp. And the Krugs camp was being cleared by Coops, but all while clearing that, he was under, if you look at the minimap, under a control wall. So what that means is they know exactly where Coops is, especially now with a Farseer orb being burnt very well by Nevin to just get even more vision. So now they know exactly where he is. Plus there's the blue buff turnover. So the rest of GAM's lanes will definitely know exactly how to play with the jungler in consideration. Here comes Cook trying to go for a gank.
Trying to go for a gank indeed.
Not really.
But unfortunately, no follow-up coming in from Trevor.
Just a bit of harass to pressure him out of the lane. Allows Trevor possibly to get a little bit of leeway in this lane. Trevor still building up a little bit of spheres there to try and fight Optimus for his unleashed power. Trub's under a ward, going to try and gank No Way. He has the rocket jump, I believe, but Archie has the ultimate as well. Cannot really go for that gank. At this point, No Way is quite mobile.
Indeed, and at the end of the day, this is Coops just trying to make up for lost ground here, but so long as these ganks don't really lead to anything significant as far as kills or even substantial pressure, then that's just ultimately problematic for Team Eagles, who as they it's ultimately a lot of missed opportunities within these first 10 minutes to really get some gank shots, establish some level of control against the Marines.
And what the cost of that gank, that failed gank in the bot lane is, Quips gets a little consolation prize in the Wolves, but Gigabyte Marines, I believe, will take away this first turn of the game. As you look at the bitmap, as to the top side, Levy and Nevan are right there. JLC has a teleport, but it's much too late. A big gold boost goes to Gigabyte Marines.
Again,
Man.
this is just basically the Gigabyte Marines again playing to the weaknesses of Team Manila Eagles here, and this was the ultimate test here going into Game 2 as to whether or not Team Manila Eagles can make those necessary adjustments so that they don't suffer that same ground. Sure, the positive I would say for Team Manila Eagles right now is that at least it wasn't as much of a heavier stomp as we saw in Game 1.
Oh, no way, it's gonna go for Marky. There's
actually going to
Nevan.
be going in though. Nevan as well within the vicinity. Teleport actually going to be caught by JLC. Has to cancel though, as there's no way to save his teammates. Looks like Marky will be suffering as yet another casualty in this.
And yet again, another late teleport there coming from the Team Manila Eagles. You saw there, JLC had the position for a good teleport, but because Nevan, while out of vision, actually teleport already, he was able to get the jump on him. And with a Cataclysm burst along with a Tiamat, just enough to take down Marky. Now with 2 deaths on the Cosmo, that is dangerous. And once again, Gigabyte Marines doing their thing. A cycle of destruction around the map. Top lane demolished. Bot lane on its way to being destroyed. And here comes JLC.
Trevor actually going to be joining in to try to save his teammate. Optimus might actually go down, and yes, that is indeed the case as they continue to chase on to Levy, JLC, and Trevor trying to get it. But no, Levy going to be flashing away along with a body slam for safety.
So far, Trevor stepping up for this one, being able to roam around the map, but bot lane is the one that needs the most help here. But still very well played by Trevor, being able to get 2 kills, 100% of the team's takedowns right now. Optimus leaving Optimus at 0-2, but I think Optimus is quite satisfied while the rest of his team are making plays across the map.
Yeah, overall, as far as Trevor getting those kills, definitely a plus for Team Manila Eagles. But then
Syndra
again,
really needs those.
if you're going to look at the overall picture, though, as far as the macro play, I'd still say that Gigabyte Marines definitely has better control here, especially if you're going to look at it from the perspective after taking top, a good transition coming there from Nevan.
Look at this. Now they're trying to go for the mid lane turret. Cooks cannot really defend that alone. But already, look at TME quite behind on the rotation. Too late to defend the turret from being chunked down to half health.
Indeed. And then this is just very systematic overall coming in from the Gigabyte Marines. So just very, very classic type of taking away rotation. You know, once you get that turret, you just slowly pick off each turret.
Yeah, and you slowly open up the map for your ganking, for your vision, and this leaves TME at such an information disadvantage. And look at how seamlessly they rotate their laners around. Now it's going to be a 1-2-1 with Levy still jungling around the map since it is still early game. But with this configuration already, it gives a lot of pressure, almost equivalent to a mid-game, late-game split push onto TME since most of their lanes except for Optimus are behind, while No Way is ahead.
And I almost forget that Levy is on this Gragas here because as far as rotations happening, even Nevan is kind of across the map right now. So
Definitely.
This is a lot that Team Manila Eagles has to deal with, and one of the basic ways that they could counter this, again, it's very substantial that they establish crucial vision to avoid any capitalization coming in from Gigabyte Marines as far as the flexibility of their rotations right now.
Yeah, and with their rotations, actually, there's a few things for them. It gives them a lot of power in the mid lane. With No Way and Archie there facing up against Marky and Rox, this still puts them at an advantage, while Optimus dodges the bad matchup of Trevor by going for this bot lane.
JLC actually going to dive in onto Optimus though. Nature's Grasp, will it connect though? That is the question. Actually it does manage to connect though, but still no responses from either side though as this top and mid continue to juke it out. JLC,
Ooh,
Optimus forced to
flashy.
flash away, but JLC continuing the chase, but I'll have to be careful. Levy now within the vicinity, might be over chasing there as JLC continuing to juke it out.
He has no more mana, so he has to rotate away from there. This is dangerous for Marky because Nevan definitely has the potential to just dive him. He does have the flash, however. Cook trying to go for something cancelled out.
Well-timed
Perfect timing.
knockup. Yeah, indeed. So we'll just have to see again. This is more attempts coming in from the jungler of Team Middle Eagles, but not really translating into actual kill.
And the configuration of their lanes, leaving a weaker laner, Kog'Maw, that has yet to scale alone against a split-pushing Nevin, puts that turret now at half health. And the next push coming from Gigabyte Marines might actually take it away. Only now does Rox actually go towards the top lane.
Ultimately,
but this leaves mid lane at a vulnerable position now.
Indeed. And I gotta say, like, looking at everything that's transpiring right now, this is just Gigabyte Marines thinking one step ahead of Team Middle Eagles from what I've been seeing thus far. They have a very clear game plan here. They're slowly whittling down Team Middle Eagles that, again, even though they're quite equal in terms of the kills, this is very classic Gigabyte Marines, wherein even though they're not really translating that into the number of deaths that they could take off onto Team Middle Eagles, hey, we could always do that through objectives as well by overwhelming the opponent. And that's what's just happening right now across the map.
This is just straight up draining TME's coffers by choking them out, slowly but surely applying pressure to their necks. And seems like now Gigabyte Marines might start pulling triggers by going for the Mountain Drake. Mountain Drake will be quite scary because TME has been a victim of quite a lot of pushes come from Gigabyte Marines, and getting that Mountain Drake will just be a lot of damage. 10% damage is a lot when you consider that you have 280 carries, one of which is Tristana.
Yeah, this is just quite the predicament right now. Again, Team Middle Eagles, they have to make something happen here, because the longer this game goes, wherein it's just kind of very much calm, the more that this is what I've been talking about since the start of this game here. Gigabyte Marines, if Team Middle Eagles doesn't make things happen, the Gigabyte Marines will just slowly kind of build up by other means, and this is ultimately where Clips should be shining right now. But because of these deficiencies where he's just drained out, Team Middle Eagles, they can't even make those type of plays wherein they could just force things against the Marines.
And you can't even say, don't worry guys, we've got the late game, we've got Kog'Maw. We've had Syndra. That's your only other source of damage. And that is not going to be enough come late game, because Gigabyte Marines will have Tristana, which will be stacked up in terms of range, and Optimus on that Lucian. So you can't say, oh, we have the late game, because Syndra is definitely not a late game champion, while Kog'Maw is only one hyper carry. And that's why I love the Cassiopeia ban from Gigabyte Marines. Coming into this game, Trevor and Cook trying to go for something, versus him down.
Actually gets the kill, and they're continuing to chase onto Archie. Archie forced to use his ultimate to blow Trevor away, but in exchange, looks like the Marines will exchange that for the first dragon of the game, which will be the Mountain Drake.
Ooh, Mountain Drake, that is scary. TME needs to watch out for their turrets. JLC now has to give in 10% more effort to stopping Nevin's push in the top lane.
And that's kind of what the Gigabyte Marines are excelling at right now. You know, by just trading off objectives in the midst of not being able to get those games. Looks like Coop's actually going to be diving in onto the Marines right here. Rox and Trevor trying to follow up,
the turret, you know.
Whoops. Forced to just back away as they lose out on any wage here. Actually goes for the Cataclysm shutdown onto Trevor. Coops might actually be the next casualty here. Might have the passive, but I don't think regardless he'll be able to survive this, as Noe as well joins the party here. Optimus actually missing out on the Nature's Grass, though. Rock will be able to get the stun, though. They get the takedown onto Optimus, but still, that is going to be a 2-for-1 in favor of, yet again, the Gigabyte Marines.
Yeah, they really overcommitted for that one. They could have just took pop shots at the turret, but instead of trying to go for the push, left them open to yet another double kill for Gigabyte Marines.
Indeed.
And that's what I'm talking about. Without Marky, they just don't have damage, while Gigabyte Marines, with the mobility that Noe has, with the rocket jump to just enter a fight from afar, this just leaves them so open, and this cost them the top lane turret. A huge win for Gigabyte Marines, slowly picking apart the map that TME has, the territory that they have.
Positioning is the friend for Team Middle Eagles here, especially for both Trevor and Mark here. The problem here is that because of the control that Gigabyte Marines has, as much as they want to try to maintain a level of their positioning to deal damage, it's just Gigabyte Marines, they have so much information on the map here, whether it be in terms of vision and even where their laners are at in general, that Team Middle Eagles, they can't really maneuver as much themselves across this map.
And because of the information disparity, this gives Gigabyte Marines a lot of control, and with how Levy has been playing this game, this leaves Coops at a 3-level disadvantage against his opposing jungler. And here they'll try and get something from the Rift Herald, but now Gigabyte Marines closing in on this. No teleport from either top laners, but
here, though.
Will be a huge turning point.
So there we go, Cataclysm actually going in onto 3 members of the Manila Eagles, but looks like the culling as Gigabyte Marines are just kind of backing away, avoiding any engage, waiting for Team Manila Eagles to initiate themselves. But no, Koops actually goes down. Levy now on a killing spree.
That's a signal.
Continuing right now, Nevin actually going in as Noe gets the free hit onto the members. Double kill for Levy as the rest of Team Manila Eagles very, very much low on health. Trevor, the only remaining member there, as that is going to be the ace quadra kill, and that is going to be the MVP.
No Penta for
Penta.
Levy, sad Levy. But still, that is a huge win for Gigabyte Marines. TME get the Rift Herald as a consolation prize. I don't think it's worth it, because from that fight, this will give Gigabyte Marines the power to push in a turret. And just in time for Baron.
Man, not the best timing in the world indeed. And like you mentioned, not the best trade for Team Manila Eagles, and I think the fact that just in the nick of time, Baron's hands just makes it all the more worse for the Eagles right here.
Yeah, let's take a look at that replay there, because here they do take the Rift Herald, but it was Rox that I believe got the last hit on it. Yeah, but so if that smite did not hit, it would have been disastrous. But here they try to go, still commit to it with the Roots chasing after Gigabyte Marines, but now Koops misses a stretching strikes. Not that it matters in the large scheme of things, but because they overcommitted to that, this allows Nevin to actually jump in with, that was a nice EQ, and with the last tick of that Q, you flash in, importing the knockup of the flag and drag combo onto 3 members, allowing a great explosive cast, which splits them apart and makes them easy targets for Noe.
Indeed, and at the end of the day, Team Manila Eagles now,
Man,
this is just going to be so much pressure that they have to deal with right now. And the problem is, like, ever since the earlier stages of the game, there was already a lot of pressure on them. So, along with this Baron right here, they ultimately are going to lose a lot of control. All the more.
all the control of the map is in Gigabyte Marines' favor. Even if TME goes for a pincer attack or a really good flank, the problem is, where's the damage coming from? It's coming from Marky. And if Marky is the one dealing damage, and so is Trevor, you do not want to make a flank, because flanking leaves you vulnerable to being jumped on by Levy, by Nevin, by Optimus. So right now, none of these plays are favorable to TME. If they had Cassiopeia, this would be a much different story, a little bit of a different story, because then it would be favorable for them to just slow down the game.
Indeed.
But because they have the Syndra, they're kind of pressured to make more plays, which they cannot do. They cannot afford to do that. So now Gigabyte Marines is in full control.
Indeed, and here we go. Heavier push here happening towards the inner bot side. And yeah, with the damage, let's go ahead and check out the damage dealers again for Team Manila Eagles, both the Syndra and the Kog'Maw. The tricky part here is that in order for them to deal the maximum damage, they need to be within the vicinity. But let's go ahead and figure out what's transpiring here. Koops actually taking a lot of damage once again. Doesn't actually manage to bounce anyone out of there as Team Manila Eagles continues to chase Levy, getting the knockup onto Trevor, trying to deal damage as he can. Knockup coming in from Archie right here. Nevin a little bit into deep, but not even taking as much damage from the Spirit right here. Archie going to be going down right here. Nevin continuing the chase. That's going to be yet another member of the Marines down, but they have to take into account Noe getting the split towards
Two
mid
turrets, 2 inhibitor
well.
turrets onto Gigabyte Marine side, and that was a 3-4v5. And I don't think it was quite worth it. They get 2 kills, but at what cost? They're still feeling the pain of the push here, because Optimus and Noe might be going for something. Trevor does not have the ultimate, so they're just continuing to push onto the inhibitors. And that's the thing, you know. They cannot. As soon as Trevor is in, of course, I think here Noe will finally die, but not before Optimus gets a few hits in there, and they still take down the inhibitor.
And it's just so much for Team Manila Eagles to deal with at this point. And you could almost say that it's a stomp in a way, but not the same kind of stomp as earlier. But Optimus might actually be going down.
Finally get a kill.
Spree for Marky, but still, looks like Nevin and Levy as well within the vicinity. That is going to be the knock-em on Nevin. But here we go, Nature's Grasp actually going to connect onto the top laner for the Marines. But will he be going down? No, actually manages the Cataclysm Trevor to his death right here as the rest of Team Manila Eagles try to fight it out with Levy. But no, they'll force him to back away for the meantime.
Small consolation prize. They do defend the last mid lane structure with a sliver of health left, but you can tell that Trevor is having a very hard time getting kills.
Indeed.
Rather, even if say, but he has 5 kills. But the thing is, when these team fights happen, and he tries to go for an assassination with his ultimate, with his unleashed power, even at max spheres, you have so much protection. Your targets are Noe and Optimus. But because Archie has a lot of tools to actually stave off the damage, the ultimate with a Monsoon, the Eye of the Storm, and very soon, Archie will have the Locket of the Iron Solari, which will cut down Trevor's assassination potential to like 20% chances of success, which will put Trevor at just a burst damage roll, but with no one to actually finish off the kills, because Marky will be too busy trying to run the heck away from people that are engaging on it.
This is a different kind of starvation right here happening for the Eagles. Again, it was earlier during game 1, it was more of all these kills. Just, again, it was like around 3 to 20 something earlier for the Marines, but now it's a different kind of starvation where it's not necessarily with the kills, because as far as kills, they're very even.
Yeah, and TME has a very good kill distribution, while Gigabyte Marine's kill distribution is absolutely terrible. You have 6 kills on Levy, which incentivizes him to build damage. He even has the Medjais and the Lich Bane, but here's the fight in the mid lane.
Yes, indeed. GLC actually forced to back away for the meantime. That is going to be the ultimate coming from Archie. Very, very strong there. Looks actually trying to get the reinitiate on, but actually goes down to Levy. Evan as well gets to initiate, but Noe getting the kill on GLC. They're looking to clean up the Eagles. Only rocks available. The only surviving member right here. Will he be able to survive though? That is the question, but will it even matter at this point? Another turret goes down. Make that the second Nexus turret. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have a clear winner once again for Game 2. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations as the Gigabyte Marines once again take this against the Manila Eagles.
Putting Team Manila Eagles to the wall here. Now match point has been achieved. Gigabyte Marines 1 win away from taking away this match going into the finals. So the biggest problem here is I think Kups is completely outclassed by Levy. And this is not to say that Levy, rather that Kups is a bad player, no. But the thing is, the nature, it's like rock, paper, scissors. And the rock of Kups is completely outclassed by Levy's paper. And because what Levy does is he just grasps at everything and takes away resources from him. And we saw that manifest in a 3-level disadvantage, which leaves Kups with not enough time and resources to gank.
I don't know. Again, this is just all about necessary adjustments. And
yeah,
considering how both games have been played out thus far, I'm not really sure if Team Manila Eagles can make those adjustments, because technically it would have been easy to have learned from game 1 that Levy just gonna starve Kups. But then again, the same trend is happening during game 2, even though we did see some level of defensive vision coming in from the Team Manila Eagles.
The laning is quite okay. The laning is decent for Team Manila Eagles. But because Kups is just completely being danced around by Levy, stealing resources, out-ganking him. And because Kups always has the wrong timing for where to gank against Gigabyte Marines, he was performing very well in the group stage, but just leaves them so open to just being completely snowballed against.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes Game 2. Once again, congratulations to the Gigabyte Marines as we head into match point for Game 3 in just a little bit. Once again, we have been your casters, Arctic at your service, fam. And of course, with me is Atlas. We'll be right back once again. This is the Garena Premier League 2017 Summer Season Knockoff Stage. We'll be right back.
Will be a huge turning point.
So there we go, Cataclysm actually going in onto 3 members of the Manila Eagles, but looks like the culling as Gigabyte Marines are just kind of backing away, waiting any engage, waiting for Team Manila Eagles to initiate themselves. But no, Kups actually goes down. Levy now on a killing spree.
That's a signal.
Continuing right now, Nevin actually going in as Noe gets the free hit onto the members. Double kill for Levy as the rest of Team Manila Eagles very, very much low on health. Trevor, the only remaining member there, is that is going to be the ace quadra kill, and that is going to be people in the vicinity. Let's go ahead and check out what's transpired here. Kups actually taking a lot of damage once again. Doesn't actually manage to bounce anyone out of there as Team Eagles continues to chase Levy, getting the knockup onto Trevor, trying to deal damage as he can. Knockup coming in from Archie right here. Nevin a little bit into deep, but not even taking as much damage from the skirt right here. Archie gonna be going down right here. Nevin continuing the chase. That's gonna be another member. Levy as well in the vicinity. That is gonna get a knockup on Levy. but here we go. Nature's Grasp actually going to connect onto the top laner for the Marines, but will he be going down? No, actually manages the Cataclysm Trevor to his death right here as the rest of the Team Manila Eagles try to fight it out with Levy, but no.
6 kills on Levy, which incentivizes him to build damage. You even ask the Medjai and the Lich Bane, but here's your fight in the mid lane.
Yes, indeed. Sure, he actually forced him back away for the meantime. That is going to be the ultimate coming Arch. Very, very strong there. So it's actually trying to get the reinitiate on, but actually goes down to Levy. Kevin as well gets to initiate, but no way getting the kill on JLZ. They're looking to clean up the Eagles. Only Rocks available. The only surviving member right here. Will he be able to survive though? That is the question, but will it even matter at this point? Another turret goes down. Make that the second Nexus turret. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have a clear winner once again for Game 2. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations as the Gigabyte Marines once again take this against the Manila Eagles.
Putting Team Manila Eagles